Good afternoon, everybody, sitting at various centers and present in this very room. The topic of today's talk is understanding learners. But before I start the topic, I will give some background. The central purpose of any educational endeavor is to promote learning among learners. The scenario in the first half of the 20th century was that learners' potential, but they do not tell us about the student progress further more quickly. The ultimate of such program is to improve our teaching learning process. And today's topic will focus on understanding learners. I have prepared some slides and now we will see and observe. So today we will discuss teaching learning process, purpose of education, various terms, need for understanding learners, learning styles, and an exercise. The central purpose of any educational endeavor is to provide learning among learners. The blue rectangle we see, that is a either polytechnic or engineering college, and in the concept system concept there are two arrows, one on the left side and the other is on the right side. On the left side it is called input and on the right side it's output. It is attached to resources. Now we see in totality, we see the students with initial behavior, those are called learners, and the student with modified behavior on the right side. The resources, there are different type of resources are required. There is a physical space, infrastructure and equipment, human, trained teachers and supporting staff, then financial, recurring and non-recurring, informational and energy. All these resources will help in making the teaching learning process move. What is the purpose of education? The purpose of education is to bring about a desirable change in the behavior of the learner. It is accomplished by using appropriate teaching strategies, methods, and tactics to achieve instructional objectives. For any educational program, there are objectives, and to meet those, we adopt different strategies and methods. It implies to describe various aspects what the student and teacher will do during the teaching learning process. Now I come to what is teaching. It is a combination of teacher and student activities supported by the best available resources to produce an atmosphere where learning takes place. Teaching is a high-stake game. It is said, the mistake of a doctor is buried in the grave. The mistake of an engineer is cemented in the bricks. The mistake of liar lies in the files, and the mistake of a teacher is reflected in the nation because the teachers are the mirrors of the nation. So we have to be very careful. Effective teaching. It is only possible if the teacher is an expert, guide, and an excellent organizer. Therefore, the teacher should know and respect the student, understand the student, means learner, must possess democratic attitude, should be proud to say, this is the student whom I groom. What is the ultimate impact? Whatever you teach a student, whether it is through your words or your actions or just your own example, impression is engraved forever on the student's mind. Learning. Learning is a process of gaining new knowledge or skill. It must include retention of newly acquired capability or behavior so that it can be displayed at some future time. It is not then and there. I am emphasizing that it is displayed at some another or future time or a different situation. It can also be defined as it is a relatively permanent change in the behavior of individual resulting from experience. What is not learning? We could understand what is learning. Now what is not learning? The persistent behavior change resulting due to maturation is not learning, though maturation is closely linked with it. I mean to say, suppose there is a person or a small boy, he is not matured. Will we wait till he gets maturity for learning? No, we will not wait. But maturity is linked with learning. Behavioral changes brought about by the factors like fatigue, drugs, illness, or emotional situation are purely transitory in nature. Suppose some person is under the influence of drugs. His behavior will be totally changed. As we are telling that what is learning? Change in behavior. But that is a temporary one. Illness. Suppose somebody is ill. He doesn't want to talk. We want to talk, but he is replying in a different fashion. and some emotional situation. Suppose some death has occurred in somebody's house and a person goes as he is not aware of this. But the behavior meted out by the particular person is not the same as it should have been. But after that time is elapsed, the person comes to the normal and he or she behaves in the same fashion. So we can safely say once the person is under the influence of fatigue, drugs, illness, his behavior is changed. But it is not permanent. So permanent change is called learning. So when the factor causing change is removed or restored, the behavior may revert back to its original form. Hence, such changes do not fall under the category of learning. Need for understanding learners. We know any educational program is nothing without learners. Very little learning will take place if we do not understand our learners and their needs. No two individuals are alike. There is difference among individuals with respect to their sex, age, intelligence, thinking style. Heterogeneity among learners is increasing day by day because of information technology and knowledge explosion. Individuals interpret events in terms. What is the faculty? Students can memorize, put values in formula mechanically without thinking. उनको पूछा बेटा ऐसे ही करना है क्यों करना है जजमेंट some faculty can manage to get Many students perform at a remarkably high level. That is, the students display first-rate problem solving, creativity, preparation, compatibility with instructor's teaching style. Because of above, there is need of understanding learners. So these were the reasons and factors for which we require to understand the learners. Now, if we compare adult versus youth learners, there are two types of learners, adult versus youth. We'll find the difference. Adult learner, these are problem centered. They will only learn if there is some problem or they go for that. And in case of youth, subject oriented. Whatever teach them, they will learn. But in case of adults, they will learn only what is required. These are result oriented. They will ask what I will get. But in case of youth, वो कहते हैं फ्यूचर में कभी ना कभी काम आ ही जाएगा. Future oriented. Adult is self directed. Youth is often depends upon adults for direction. He will seek advice from his adults. But in case of adults, they are self directed. Skeptical about new information. ये अपनी उतनी information लेंगे जितनी इनको चाहिए. In case of youth, likely to accept new information. Seek needed education. The adult will seek only the needed education. Because they need promotion, they will work only up to that level. But in case of youth, they don't have they have unclear future. They don't have the focus. So what they will do, they will seek anything, whatever is available. Accept responsibility for learning. Depends on others. The youth are depending on others, reluctant to accept responsibility. They are not taking responsibility. ठीक है पढ़ लेंगे कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी वाली बात नहीं. तो एडल्ट लर्नर के कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स years of experience and wealth of knowledge, established values, beliefs and opinions, expected to be treated as adults. They want that we must be treated as adults. जैसे किसी adult को कोई काम करने के बाद आप शाबाशी देते हो जैसे बच्चे को देते हो तो he will feel it. He will feel offended. He will say that treat me as adult. Adult need to feel self-directed. Have problem-centered approach to learning. Less interested in survey type of courses. Suppose we give them a job in which lot of data is to be collected. They will not be comfortable. They will say only give me a particular job which I do. Adults have increased variation in learning styles because of individual differences with age. Teaching strategies. Use adult students as resources. Use open-ended questions to draw out knowledge and experience. K means knowledge. Suppose in our group there are adults. We must use them as resources. We may have information from them, certain experiences which even the colleagues don't have. Take time to clarify the queries and permit debate. Treat questions and comments with respect, acknowledge the contributions of the students. Engage students in designing and learning process. Show immediate how new information is used. Focus on theories and concepts within the context. Use a variety of teaching materials and methods. Take into account individual differences. What are the individual differences? Intelligence, जिसको इंटेलिजेंट क्वोशिएंट के नाम से हम जानते हैं. SES, सोशो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस. थिंकिंग स्टाइल, पर्सनैलिटी, cognitive style or learning style. Self-concept, it affects behavior, achievement and learning. Can you tell what is self-concept? अपने बारे में धारणा. Suppose you are capable, must be confident enough to say that I am confident. Age, aging affects learning, knowledge and skills and retention. Gender, girls tend to read better than boys. क्या ऐसा है? Girls tend to read better than boys, but tend to avoid mathematics. Is it so? No, sir. So difference can only be a motivational factor. Though these things occur, but if there is a motivation, a girl can also be a good mathematician. A boy can be a good speaker, or he can read better. To conclude, adults learners are different from young learners. Adults are more self-guided in their learning. They bring more and expect to bring more to the learning situation because of their wider experience and can take away more. उनका यही एक रोल होता है कि maximum they draw and maximum they give and maximum they share. They require learning to make sense and will not act because the instructor said it. जैसे हम कहते हैं कि हमारे टीचर ने कहा था इसलिए हमने कर लिया. No, they will only do what is required and what is useful to them. There are two types of learning. One is reception learning and other is discovery learning. Can you give a difference? What is reception learning? कहते हैं रिसेप्शन तो हमने ब्याह शादियों में देखी है, बट आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ रिसेप्शन लर्निंग. वो रिसेप्शन है. एंड व्हाट इज डिस्कवरी, जो कोलंबस ने की थी? नो. रिसेप्शन लर्निंग, entire content of what is to be learned is presented to the learner in the final shape. सब कुछ उसको दिखा दिया जाता है, दे दिया जाता है, नोट्स भी दे दिए जाते हैं. The learning task doesn't involve any independent discovery on his part. उसको आप कुछ नहीं करना, सिर्फ जो दिया है उसको रटना है और क्रैम करना. तो डिस्कवरी लर्निंग में क्या होता है? The whole content of what is to be learned is not given to the learner, but it is discovered by the learner before he or she can incorporate meaningfully into his cognitive structure. मतलब कि अपने ब्रेन में उसको यूज करके इंफॉर्मेशन को अपनी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करें. दैट इज कॉल्ड डिस्कवरी लर्निंग. स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व्ड इन रिसेप्शन लर्निंग स्ट्रेटजी. प्रेजेंट इंफॉर्मेशन, टेस्ट फॉर रिसेप्शन, रिकॉल एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग. प्रेजेंट प्रैक्टिस अपॉर्चुनिटीज, उनको प्रैक्टिस करने की अपॉर्चुनिटी भी दे दो. मॉडिफाई द क्वांटिटी एंड डिफिकल्टी विद एग्जाम्पल्स, उनको एग्जाम्पल्स भी दे दो, डिफिकल्टी भी सॉल्व कर दो. प्रेजेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर द एप्लीकेशन, एप्लीकेशन के लिए भी उनको मौका दे दो. इट मीन्स कि पकी पकाई सब कुछ उनको चाहिए या इस मेथड से दी जाती है. इन केस ऑफ डिस्कवरी लर्निंग, प्रेजेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज टू एक्ट एंड ऑब्जर्व, उनको प्रॉब्लम दी जाती है They will learn themselves. They find out ways and means. They will study themselves. Test for understanding of cause and effect relationship, either by questioning or by observing further activity. Test for the information. Present opportunities or the application of new learned information. They will apply themselves. Providing a supportive and non-threatening, and that is an anxiety-free environment for learning, that is conducive environment. That is the basic towards effective teaching learning. Providing opportunities for clarification of doubts and practice. Providing feedback, use of rewards, promote transfer of training, presenting a human model. Then sequencing the content matter, follow a logical and psychological principles to facilitate learning. उसका क्या मतलब है? Hierarchy of topics and concepts. देखिए, कोई चीज आपने पढ़ानी है, पहले सिंपल बताइए. Easy to difficult, simple to complex, then known to unknown, concrete to abstract, observation to reasoning. So these are the ways or the psychological and principles to facilitate learning. In mathematics, we know first we teach plus, then subtraction, then multiplication, then division. We don't teach division first because this is a way to teach mathematics in a simplified way. Learning styles. Learning styles are the characteristic cognitive, affective and psychological behavior that serve as relatively stable indicators of how learner perceive, interact with and respond to learning environment. Could you understand? Learning styles are the characteristic cognitive, affective and psychological behaviors that serve as relatively stable indicators of how learner perceives, interact with and respond to learning environment. इसकी एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं. Some students are comfortable with theories and abstractions. Another set of people, facts and observation of phenomena, prefer active learning, lean towards introspection, prefer visual presentation. Some students will be comfortable with visual presentation. They will learn only when they are shown something. Prefer verbal explanation. Then approaches to learning and orientation to study. Reproducing orientation. Adopt surface meaning, memorizing, mechanical formula substitution with no understanding. This is one way. The another way is meaning orientation. Adopt deep approach, probing and questioning and exploring the limits of applicability. They will ask number of questions, where this will be applied, how it will be useful, where we see its application. The third one is learning and achieving orientation. Adopt strategic approach, aim to get highest grade of using above approaches. They may adopt any approach, surface or deep, but aim is to score maximum marks. Intellectual development. At the highest level, students display thinking pattern like scientists and experts. You must have observed in your class or in some of the classes that there are certain students, they behave in such a fashion that they are very intelligent and they give such explanation which even the scientist cannot give. This is their approach. In other words, learning styles are the approaches or ways of learning. They process information by seeing and hearing, reflecting and acting, reasoning logically, and intuitively, analyzing and visualizing. Teaching methods will also vary. For example, lecture, demonstration, self-discovery. Some will focus on principles and other on applications, some on memory, while on other applications. So accordingly, we will change the teaching style. Main learning styles. Auditory learners. What is auditory? The process new information best when spoken, means hearing. For example, lecture, oral reading, audio recording. Visual learners learns best when information is presented in visual formats like books, web pages, graphics, images, demonstrations, video programs. Tactile or kinesthetic learners. What is tactile or kinesthetic? Means through touch. Learns best when information is conveyed in hands-on setting, जहाँ से वो कुछ आप कर पाएं, जैसे laboratory में. Process information best when it can be touched or manipulated. For example, in laboratories, workshops where he gets chance to touch and manipulate, taking notes, write assignments, and examine the objects. Environmental learners process information best when it is presented in surroundings that match learner's preference. Room temperature, lighting, seating, these are the examples because they need environment. Suppose there is a hot summer season, they are not comfortable, they won't study. They will ask for cool atmosphere. Learners can control their own learning environment to a large extent than on campus or classroom. There are certain type of learners which want that they should be free for learning in their own setting, not only in the classroom. What affects learners? Learners को क्या चीज़ affect करती है? Immediate environment, own emotionality, sociological needs, and physical needs. So we'll discuss one by one. The first one is immediate environment. It includes sound. Suppose there is a place, there is a noise, one cannot study. There are different type of people, they want only the quiet place. But there are certain set of people, whatever is going on, चाहे ढोल बज रहे हो, but they are studying, they can concentrate. Light. Learners are light sensitive and light needy. कई तो कहते हैं कि हमें subdued और dim light चाहिए, कई कहेंगे हमें bright light चाहिए. So they are light needy. कई लोग सो नहीं पाते कि जब तक लाइट नहीं बुझाओगे. कई लोग कहेंगे जहां मर्जी सुला लो, चाहे फ्लड लाइट लगा दो. Temperature. Concentration better in cool, difficulty in warm weather, and vice versa, leads to poor productivity when there is discomfort. It depends on the individual. Somebody is discomfort in cold atmosphere, somebody is discomfort in hot season. Then immediate environment, design. Places other than the table. कई लोग तो बोलेंगे जी टेबल चेयर जब तक नहीं लगेगा मैं पढ़ नहीं पाऊंगा. Or there are some another set of learners who require an informal design. कैसा डिजाइन है कि पेड़ के नीचे बैठ के पढ़ेंगे, किसी गार्डन में पढ़ेंगे या बेड के ऊपर बैठ के पढ़ेंगे. One that is relaxed and casual, easy chair, bed or carpeting. While for others, highly formal physical surroundings arouse motivation and creativity. कईयों को particular चीज चाहिए, only then they can study. Own emotionality, motivation. Everybody is motivated with certain factors. So it is a hidden force which make us work. Teachers need to employ different strategies for motivating learners. Persistence, continuity and completing the learning task in stipulated time frame means जॉब दे दी गई, टाइम फ्रेम दे दिया गया और कंप्लीट करना. Responsibility, every teacher will require that his students are responsible, so one should be responsible for this. Need for structure and flexibility. Structure is establishment of specific rules for working on and completing an assignment. It implies that certain things should be completed in a specific way. उसके लिए एक तरीका बताया जाता है कि ऐसे ही काम करना है. As directed, do as directed. Within depth and working in small groups, working with classmates, with one or two friends, as a part of team, with adults. कई कहते हैं कोई बड़ा आदमी बैठा हो तब मेरी कंसंट्रेशन बनती है. So these are the individual differences. There is requirement of correct grouping depending upon individual requirement. Physical needs, perceptual strengths. Learners learn best through different senses. Learn and retain. Intake. Take breaks. कई learners ऐसे हैं, they will like to have breaks. They can't sit in continuation. They will ask for drinks. Drink doesn't mean wine, some water or some fruit juice or something. Some people will like to smoke for concentration. Some will chew gums. आपने क्रिकेटर्स को देखा होगा, साथ में क्रिकेट खेलते हैं और साथ में च्युइंगम चबाते हैं. Bites the fingernails. कई बार आपने देखा होगा कि स्टूडेंट when he is in concentration, he is biting his nails. So this reflects that he is concentrating. कई लोग पेंसिल चबा जाते हैं और या किसी और ऑब्जेक्ट को काटते हैं. ये उनकी कंसंट्रेशन बनती है, इसलिए करते हैं. ये नहीं कि हम सबको ये अडॉप्ट करना. टाइम. सम लर्नर्स कैन परफॉर्म वेल एट पर्टिकुलर टाइम. जैसे मैथमेटिक्स पढ़ना है तो कहेंगे सुबह पढ़ेंगे, सुबह माइंड फ्रेश होता है. हिस्ट्री पढ़नी है तो रात को पढ़ेंगे. क्यों भाई? कई लोग कहेंगे कि भाई मैं ना सुबह उठ सकता हूँ ना रात को लेट जाग सकता हूँ, दिन में करवा लो जो करना है. ये उनका स्टाइल है. कई लोग कहेंगे कि दिन भर हम ऐश करेंगे, रात को 10 बजे बैठेंगे और सुबह 5 बजे तक पढ़ेंगे. सो दीज आर द डिफरेंसेस इन लर्नर्स. मोबिलिटी. Some learners need great deal of mobility. They require variation in posture, location. कभी इधर बैठे मिलेंगे, क्लास में भी देखा होगा, कभी उधर बैठे हैं कभी उस तरफ बैठे हैं, वो टिकते नहीं. They require variation in their posture, location, environment for better learning. As per Myers Briggs, ये एक एजुकेशनिस्ट हुआ, उसने कुछ इंडिकेटर्स डेवलप किए. Extroverts. Who is extrovert? Try out things and focus on outer world. Introvert. Think things through, focus on inner world. Sensors. Practical, detail oriented, focus on facts and procedures. Intuitors. Imaginative, concept oriented, focus on meaning and possibilities. So these are the different styles. Thinkers, skeptical, make decision based on logic and rules. कहता है सोचता बहुत है क्योंकि उसके मन में सिस्टम ही ऐसा है. Feelers, appreciative, tend to make decisions personal एंड ह्यूमनिस्टिक कंसिडरेशन। वो सब चीज़ को इस तरीके से लेगा कि किसी भी डिसीजन लेने से पहले वो देखेगा कि दूसरे की फीलिंग्स तो नहीं हर्ट हो रही, उसका माइंड जो है वो बीच में वर्क करता है। जजेस सेट एंड फॉलो एजेंडा, सी क्लोजर इवन विद इनकम्प्लीट डाटा, वो कहते हैं फटाफट खत्म करो। परसीवर्स अडॉप्ट टू चेंजिंग सर्कमस्टांसेस, फ्लेक्सिबल हैं। पोस्टपोन रीचिंग क्लोजर टू ऑब्टेन डाटा, वो डाटा लेने के लिए कहीं तक पहुंचेंगे। Learning style still continues. Student preferentially take in and process information in different ways. Seeing and hearing, देखते हैं और सुनते हैं। Reflecting and acting, reasoning logically and intuitively, analyzing and visualizing, steadily and fits and starts। इनके different styles हैं। तो अब हम यदि क्लासिफिकेशन करना चाहें, which are universally accepted, these are for reflective learners, sensing and intuitive learners, visual and verbal learners, sequential and global learners. These are the four categories. So I will differentiate it in a table. These were prepared by Richard M. Felder and Barbara S. Solomon. कहीं सोच लो कि मैंने किया होगा, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, मैंने तो कंपाइल किया। Active learner and reflective learner understand better when they do, perform, apply or discuss. Think quietly, future oriented. जो रिफ्लेक्टिव लर्नर्स हैं वो सोचेंगे ज़्यादा, करेंगे कम। एक्टिव लर्नर्स करेंगे ज़्यादा, सोचेंगे कम। तो इनका पहला रिस्पॉन्स कैसे होता है एक्टिव लर्नर का? जब भी कोई काम मिला, कोई असाइनमेंट मिली, लेट अस डू। बट इन केस ऑफ रिफ्लेक्टिव लर्नर दे विल से रुको, पहले सोचेंगे, लेट अस फर्स्ट थिंक। पर इन लोगों की हेल्प कैसे हो, क्योंकि इनको जैसी इनका स्टाइल है वैसा इनको टीचिंग एनवायरनमेंट नहीं मिलता, तो वो अपनी हेल्प कैसे करें? हाउ दे कैन हेल्प देमसेल्व्स? बाय स्टडिंग इन ग्रुप्स। जो एक्टिव लर्नर है उसका क्या तरीका है कि वो किसी ग्रुप में पढ़े। ग्रुप में अलग अलग स्टूडेंट अलग अलग व्यूज देंगे एंड ही विल लर्न मोर। डिस्कस एंड प्रिपेयर फॉर द टेस्ट, और उसी में सोच लेगा कि मुझे कौन सी चीज़ नहीं आती, तो उसके ऊपर फोकस करके उसको प्रिपेयर कर लेगा। बट इन केस ऑफ रिफ्लेक्टिव लर्नर, नॉट टू मेमोराइज, क्योंकि इसको याद तो इसने करना नहीं, रिकॉर्ड ना ही रिकॉर्ड करेगा। तो इनका तरीका क्या है कि इनको दे शुड प्रिपेयर देयर शॉर्ट नोट्स इन देयर ओन वर्ड्स। दे हैव टू स्पेंड एक्स्ट्रा टाइम। बाय स्पेंडिंग एक्स्ट्रा टाइम दे विल रिटेन मोर and they will be more successful. Then visual learners and verbal learners. Visual learners remember best when they see pictures, diagrams, graphs or see some demonstration. And in case of verbal learners get more out of the words, written and spoken explanation. ये कहेंगे जी मेरे सामने बोल दो, लेक्चर कर दो, मैं सुन के आ जाऊं, फिर मैं पढ़ लूंगा, उनको समझ में आ जाएगा। बट इन केस ऑफ विजुअल दे नीड पिक्टोरियल सिस्टम। इन मोस्ट क्लासेस वेरी लिटिल विजुअल इंफॉर्मेशन इज प्रेजेंटेड, दिस इज आवर ऑब्जर्वेशन। इन केस ऑफ वर्बल लर्नर्स, इन मोस्ट क्लासेस ओनली वर्बल इंफॉर्मेशन बाय वे ऑफ लेक्चर, रिटन मटेरियल ऑन चाक बोर्ड्स, टेक्स्ट बुक्स एंड हैंड आउट्स इज प्रोवाइडेड। तो फिर इनके लिए प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है, दे आर अनएबल टू लर्न as these are required. So how they can help? Write summaries and working in groups. This is their remedy. And in case of visual learners, try to find out diagrams, sketches, schematics, photographs, flow charts, any visual representation. Ask teacher and consult reference books. Next is sensing learner and intuitive learner. Sensing doesn't mean sensitive. Tend to learn facts, solve problems logically, patient with details, good at memorizing facts, more practical and careful. But in case of intuitive learners, often prefer discovering possibilities and relationships like innovations and dislike repetitions. They don't like repetitions. They don't. In case of sensing, they don't like courses that have no apparent connection to real world. And in case of intuitive learner, better at grasping new concepts and more comfortable with abstractions. How they can be helped? They can't understand abstract, so seek clarifications, ask examples, refer literature. This is their remedy. And in case of intuitive learners, they can't memorize, ask for clarifications, they don't jump to answers. Sequential learners and global learners understand better in linear steps. They will understand everything in steps. Logical connection in each step. ये पहले क्या हुआ था, उसके बाद में क्या बना. Follow logical steps for a solution. In case of global learners, tend to learn in large jumps, absorb material randomly, without seeing connections. कोई क्वेश्चन किया एकदम से जवाब दे देंगे, तो जवाब ठीक भी हो सकता है, गलत भी हो सकता है. यदि ठीक हो गया, पूछा भी कैसे, कह रहे वो नहीं बता सकते. This is their limitation. Sequential learners follow logical steps for a solution. If the teacher teaches globally, in this case, if the teacher is teaching globally, but the student is sequential learner, they need to work logically and fill gaps. He needs extra help from the teacher to fill their gaps. But in case of global learner, they need big picture. Big picture means यदि उन्होंने कोई चैप्टर पढ़ना है, कोई किताब पढ़नी है, they should have a overview of that very chapter and a book before they go deep into the subject. Before study, they need to do skimming. Skimming means जैसे कहते हैं पन्ने पलटाना, overview लेने के लिए कि what this book or chapter includes. Before study, they need to do skimming and relate the things to have an overview. One by one, we are writing how these people can be helped. Global learners. Before you begin to study first section of the chapter in a text, skim through entire chapter. ये requirement है, उसकी skimming कर लो to have an overview. Doing so may be time consuming initially, but it may save you from going over and over individual parts later. पहले एक बार overview लेने से बार बार queries नहीं आएगी. Instead of spending a short time on every subject every night, you may find it more productive to immerse yourself in individual subject for large blocks. मतलब एक ही टाइम पे पूरा सब्जेक्ट को या उस चैप्टर को पढ़ डालो, बजाय कि 2 पेज आज पढ़ लिए, 2 पेज को, उसकी बात बननी नहीं. In case of global learners, try to relate the subject to things you already know, because they need relation, either by asking the instructor to help you see connections or by consulting references. Above all, don't lose faith in yourself. You will eventually understand new material, and once you do yourself, understanding of how it connects to the another topic and discipline may enable you to apply it in various ways that most sequential learners would never dream of. So they will be better in comparison to the sequential learners. Sequential learners. Ask instructors to fill these skipped steps or fill them in yourself by consulting references. ये इनकी requirement है. When you are studying, take time to outline lecture material for yourself in logical order, because they require logical steps. It will save your time. Try to strengthen your global thinking skills by relating each new topic you study to things you already know. Means relating. The more you can do so, the deeper your understanding will be. Then verbal learners. Write summaries or outlines of the course material in your own words. Working in groups can be particularly effective. Gain understanding of material by hearing classmates' explanation. Suppose we are studying in a group. In a group, everybody will speak or tell something. The other person who is curious, he will know and understand better. You learn even more when you do explaining. Then visual learners. Try to find diagrams, sketches, schematics, photographs, flowcharts, or any other visual representation of the course material that is predominantly verbal. Color code your notes with a highlighter so that everything relating to one topic is in the same color. So these are the tips for the learners. Then visual learners again. Ask your instructor, consult reference books and see if any videotapes, CD-ROM displays of the course material are available. Prepare a concept map by listing key points, enclosing them in boxes or circles and drawing lines with arrows between concepts to show connections. ये सारी बातें करने की है. Intuitive learners. Ask your instructor for interpretation of theories and link facts and try to find connections yourself. You may also be prone to careless mistakes on best because you are impatient with details and don't like repetitions, as in checking your complete solutions. वो कहते जी एक silly mistake होगी. Take time to read entire question before you start answering and be sure to check your results. Sensing learners. In a class where most of the material is abstract and theoretical, you may have difficulty. Ask your instructor for specific examples of concepts and procedures and find out how concepts apply in practice. If teacher doesn't provide enough specifics, try to find out some in your course text or other references or by brainstorming with friends or classmates. तो आप कहते जाओगे बोलते जाओगे हम सुनते जाएंगे. We must sum up somewhere. Everybody is active learner sometimes and a reflective learner sometimes. We cannot be one. Everybody is sensing sometime and intuitive sometime. Everyone learns more when information is presented visually and verbally. So this is the requirement. So we must adopt ways and means in our teaching methodology so that we are effective. The teachers will have to adopt appropriate variations in their teaching styles to make their teaching effective. So that is the aim of this total program, that is to make our teaching learning effective. So we have discussed a little about teaching learning process, purpose of education, various terms, need for understanding learners, and learning styles. अब मेरे पास एक ही चीज बची. तो thank you for the patient hearing and listening. So thank you very much. Would you like to ask any question? No, sir.